Hey streamers, have you ever been on a raid on Twitch and you get to the channel that you're raiding and a little clip pops up from your channel and you saw that and you go, how do they do that? I wonder if I could do that on my channel. I know I have, and like you probably have, I looked into it and it was all, third-party services that you had to sign up for and connect your Twitch account to use. And well, those are nice. I mean, it's convenient. It's another account you have to create. It's another service you're reliant on. Another, service that's not on your own computer, that's on someone else's server that may or may not work. And again, it's another account. It's another password you have to get. To me, that's just a hassle. I like to have as much as I can on my own system. That's why I use Streamer.bot instead of a cloud bot, because I want it right here and I know it's always working. And I use Streamer.bot for all my alerts. None of my alerts come from Streamlabs anymore. I take donations in Streamlabs, but the alert still is done by Streamer.bot, and I like it that way. So when I was trying to figure out how I can do the whole clip from a raider thing on my stream, I tried to figure out how I could do that with Streamer.bot. And when I looked online, I didn't see any videos or any tutorials on how to do it, which is why I'm going to make this. I took the time to figure out how to do it, and between looking at the online documentation for Streamer.bot and chatting with people in the Streamer.bot Discord, I figured out how to make it work. I'm probably not the only person who's done it, but as far as I can tell, no one's made any tutorials. So I'm going to save you the trouble, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's get right into it. First of all, if you don't have it, you're going to want to download Streamer.bot. So you go to Streamer.bot, and you click download, and it's a quick, easy install. All you have to do is unzip it to a folder. There's no installation program to use. It's really that simple. Okay, so once you have that installed, you're going to have to set some stuff up. You're going to have to connect it to your Twitch stream if you don't already have it. If you already have Streamer.bot, then you've already set this up. But if you haven't done it before, then that's the next thing you're going to want to do. So to do that, first you're going to go to Streamer.bot. You can open Streamer.bot up, and you're going to go to Stream Apps and OBS Studio, and then you're going to add a connection to OBS. Now this is connecting to the OBS that I'm recording this with. And I'm recording, but I'm going to do the demo in another instance of OBS, so we're going to have to make a connection to that to make it work. So I'm going to add, and I'm going to call it OBS 2. And now you're going to leave the version 5.x alone. I mean, unless you're using a really deprecated version, you're not going to need to change it. I don't know why you'd be using anything that old. Then you need to get the IP address for your OBS. So you're going to go to OBS, you're going to go to Tools, WebSocket and Server Settings, and Show Connect Info, and you're just going to click the copy button, put that to your clipboard, back on Streamer.bot, connect that here. Now, OBS defaults to port 4455. If you haven't changed it yourself, it's going to be 4455 by default. And unless you've enabled and required a password to connect your WebSocket server, you can leave this blank. But if you want to, you can. And then we're going to click Auto Connect on Startup and Reconnect on Disconnect. That way you're not going to have to manually reconnect it every time you open up Streamer.bot in OBS. It'll just do it for you, and then if there's an error, if something crashes, and if OBS crashes, it'll just reconnect when you start it up again. Okay, I'm going to click OK. Okay, now that we're connected, then you're going to want to connect your Twitch account, your Twitch streaming account. You're going to go to Platforms, Twitch, and as long as you're logged in on your browser, this little logout button will say Log In, and you'll just click Log In, and it'll ask you to authorize the tokens, like so many things you connect to your accounts, and you accept that, and now you're connected. The second thing is the bot account. Now, for what we're doing, we don't need that. But if you are going to use Streamer.bot and you want to use it to write to chat, then you may want to make a separate bot account on Twitch so you can have a custom name for your bot. If you don't do this, it'll just use your regular streaming broadcaster account to write to chat. So now, we're going to go into OBS, and we're going to need to create a browser source for our Twitch clip to play in. Now, my recommendation, what I usually do is I make a separate scene for my alerts. The reason for this is, you're going to have a bunch of parts to different alerts. For this, it's just going to be a browser source, but if you're using it for all your other alerts, there's going to be several different things. And rather than having to add those sources to every single scene, we're going to do this. And then you just have to add that alert scene to all your scenes where you want your alerts to appear. So we're going to make a scene called alerts, add a browser source, and we'll call it raid clip. I'm going to call it raid clip 2 just because my other OBS instance uses just raid clip, and I just want to make sure nothing gets confused here. Okay. So I'm going to set it to my canvas size resolution just so everything matches. 1920 by 1080. And now I'm going to get a placeholder clip so I can kind of format my my browser source properly. So we'll go here. We will just get one of our clips. Just get a URL. Just again, this is just a placeholder. Copy the link. Go back to OBS. Paste that here. And we're going to hit Control Audio via OBS so that we can control the audio, with the rest of our mixer. And do shutdown source when not visible, so that it's not playing when the source isn't showing. And then I'm going to do refresh browser when scene becomes active. Okay, now as you can see, we've got the whole page here. We don't want the whole page to show up. So we're just going to use our left Alt key. We're just going to crop this down to just the little playback window. And then I'm just going to size it to what looks like a good size for it to play back in. And center that. Again, you can put it wherever you want. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. Now, I like to put a little show high transition so it looks a little nicer. I'm going to do a fade. Again, this is just taste. This is just for how I like it to look. And a fade out. And I'm going to enable monitoring on this so that I can hear the clip when it plays myself. And then, of course, I can judge how the audio needs to be adjusted. And now I'm going to hide it. Okay, now, our next step is we're going to go into Streamer.bot. Now we're going to set up all the stuff to make it grab a random clip from someone who's rating us. So now we're going to go to Actions. Now, action is just stuff that the bot's going to do. So it's going to start actions and cues, actions. Now see, these are all the things I have my stream doing. All right, this is just all the stuff, different things that the bot does for my stream. And this is these are all my different, right here are all my different alerts. I'm going to put it in here because it's going to act like an alert, and I don't want it, and I'm going to put it in that set. So I'm going to add an action. I'm going to call it raid clip. I know, lazy name, it works. I'm going to put in my alerts queue. And I'm going to make sure, like I've already done this, but make sure your alerts, if you have multiple things, are set for blocking. That way, only one will go off at a time. Like if one won't interrupt another one. Okay, then we're going to go over here and we got to pick a trigger. We got to tell it, when do we want this action to go off? And of course, we want to go off for a raid. Now you can search for triggers up here, or you can right click, go to add. We want to go to Twitch, raid, and raid. Now we can set it for how many people are in the raid before it'll go off. So you can set a minimum number, a maximum number, or you can just leave it blank and it'll go for any value, which obviously tells you right there, any value. So I'm going to leave it for any value. Any raid that comes in, I want this thing to go off. Okay, and now we've got to tell the action, what do we do when this trigger goes off? So now we're going to go down to sub actions. And sub actions are all the stuff that the action's going to do. And we're going to write some code. And we write the code in C#. Go right click, go to add, core, C#, or C hashtag if you will, but it's called C#. We're going to go execute C# code. We don't want execute C# method. That is not good. That is not what we want. We want execute C# code. And now it's going to give you this window. And if you're not a programmer, if you've never coded, this might look a little intimidating. But I'm going to show you exactly what you need. Keep it nice and simple. I'll try not to over-explain anything that you don't really need to know, but I do want you to have some idea of what's going on. So up here, we have what are called our namespaces. Namespaces are collections of things that C# uses. Data types, functions, stuff like that. System is like the basic stuff. We're going to add a couple more. Okay, this class, you don't really need to know what a class is to do this. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. But this here, this is a function. And this is the function that Streamer.bot will go to first when you start running any code. This is where it's going to go. And you could put your, like it says, your main code, it calls it. And you can write, if you're writing something more complicated and you want to write other functions, like things that you're going to do more than once, you don't want to have to keep writing that same code over and over and over again. You can make separate functions that you can call from here, but we only need to use this function here. It's all going to be right here. You're not going to have to write anything else. Okay, so first we have to add namespaces that aren't included by default so that we can get the things we need to make this work. So first, we need to be able to interface with the Twitch API. Okay, so we need to tell it how to do that. So using, that tells it we're going to use such and such a namespace. Using twitch.common.models.api and with a semicolon. And coding is all case sensitive, so make sure that you capitalize and lowercase all the right stuff, or it's not going to know what you're looking for. And we also need another namespace to get what's called a list. So we're going to do using system.collections.generic, semicolon. Okay, and that's going to give us all the stuff we need to do what we want to do. Okay? Okay, now we're going to get into the main coding. Don't worry about return, because we're not really going to use it. We don't need to do anything with that. We're just going to leave that alone. Don't delete it, though, because it has to be there. And we're going to make a couple of variables. First, we need a variable called a string, which is just, it's like where you'd store like a sentence or a string of a bunch of numbers. I mean, not a bunch of letters. It can be numbers, character numbers. Basically, a bunch of characters, but it's not an array. An array is another thing, but I'm not going to get into that because you don't need to know that. Okay, and I'm going to call it user ID. You can call it whatever you want, but just make sure that it's something that you'll recognize, something that you'll know what it is. If you call all your variables A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that's going to get confusing. Okay, and we're going to make another variable to store how long the clip we're going to use is. So I'm going to call it length. That's an integer. Integers are whole numbers. That's all it means. An integer is a whole number. And it's got a limited size. Each different data type is a certain size and hold a certain amount of information. Okay? And then we're going to have another integer called clip number. Again, you can call it whatever you want. Just make sure you know what it's doing. Semicolon. Okay? And all those lines are semicolons. Okay, now we've got these variables. We've got to find out who set off the raid trigger. Who is the streamer who came to our Twitch stream to give us a raid? So we're going to call a function, and all the functions, by the way, that you call start with cph dot. And see, that gives you a whole list of functions. Every function that's available to you under cph will be in that little tooltip window. The one we want is called try_get_arg. Try_get_arg. We're trying to get an argument that came in through the raid trigger. An argument is anything that gets passed into a function. Any kind of data that gets passed into a function is called an argument. And different triggers, different functions have different arguments that they take in. One of the arguments that the raid trigger takes in is user ID. Now it asks for it in a string. Any string, unless you're giving it a variable, you have to put in quotes. So I know that the name of this argument is user ID. So just like the variable we made, it's called user ID, capital I. Again, remember, case sensitive. Make sure that you capitalize the right things or it's not going to know what you're looking for. Okay, and then comma, that's going to separate our arguments. We're going to send it out to the user ID variable that we made. Okay, and that line and a semicolon. Okay, so now we know who's coming to our stream. Okay, now we want to get their clips, and we want to get a list of their clips, and the clips get stored in a data type called clip data. So we want to make a list of clip data types and then give it a variable that's connected to it. So list clip data, and I'm just going to call it clips. I'll call it clip, one less letter to type. Why not? Okay, so we're going to do cph dot get clips for user by ID. Now look at this tooltip here. 1 of 6. So a great thing in C# and other object-oriented languages is a thing called overloading, which means you can make a bunch of functions with the same name because they all do probably more or less the same thing, but we'll all work a little differently, take different data types. For example, I could have a function called average, and one version takes in integers, another version takes in floating point values, which are values that have decimals. Another maybe takes in, well, strings don't really have averages, but different data types. And the compiler knows based on what you send it, which version of the function you're using. So we have a very basic one that takes a user ID that we gave it. And then it has this little variable, a Boolean, which is basically just tests true or false, 1 or 0, called isFeatured. And what we can do with that is we can decide whether we want to get just clips that are featured clips, in which case we put a 1 in. Or if we want all the clips that aren't featured clips, we put a 0. If we leave it blank, it'll just collect all the clips it finds. I think there might be a limit of like 1,000. But, it's going to get all the clips. And to be clear, we're not downloading the actual clip. We're just downloading information about the clip. So you don't have to worry that it's going to take 15 minutes to download every single clip this person has. It doesn't work like that. So, okay, so that's one version. The second version of it, very similar to it, but this one, we could put a count. We can say, just give me 50 or 100 clips, Just give me X number of clips. I don't want all of them. Now, then there's a third version where you can pick a range of dates that the clips fall in. So you can say, give me all the clips, say, from the past 3 months. So you say, like, the start date is say, 4 months ago, your end date is today. And then it's got the isFeatured option again. So again, all the featured clips, none of the featured clips, or whatever you can get. There's a fourth version, just like with the other one, that is the same except that it has a count. You can say, how many of these do I want? How many clips do I want? There's a fifth version and a sixth version that use a time span variable. I haven't learned how to use that, but you can look it up under C# if you'd like to learn how to do it that way. I'm just going to show you how to do the ones that use the date time and the one that takes all of them. Okay, so let's do it simple for the first time. So we want to send, let's see, it wants the user ID that we stored in that string. So user ID. And I'm just going to collect all the clips. I'm going to take all of them. Semicolon. So now that's going to get the data for all the clips. So now let me show you what data those clips get. So this is all the stuff in clip data. You get the ID of the clip. You can get the URL of the clip, the embed URL. You can get the broadcaster name ID, the broadcaster name, the creator ID, the creator name. So, if a clip was made by someone else, you can find out who made it. The video ID, that would be the ID of, the video. Game ID, some of the stuff you're not going to need. But like, let's say you wanted to tell people what game the person was playing. You could use game ID, and then you can tell people, oh, this is the game this clip is from. The language it's in, title, how many views it has, what day it was created, the URL of the thumbnail, the duration, and if it's featured or not. So what we're going to want is we're going to want the duration, and we're going to want the URL. That's what we're going to need for our program. Okay. Now, before we proceed, before we pick a URL, we pick a specific clip, we want to make sure they actually have any clips. Because maybe this is a new streamer and they don't have any clips yet. Or maybe they don't have, or if you're using a range, they might not have any clips in that date range that you selected. So we're going to say if, I'm going to say clip.count. That's how many clips, how many clip data instances we have in our list called clip. Say, is that greater than 0? If it's greater than 0, we know we have clips, we can proceed. If it's not greater than 0, if it's 0, then we might as well just get out of here because there's nothing left to do. Enter, and now you want to create the body of the if statement, and since it's more than one line, we have to put that in braces. Put 2 braces. If you type 1, it'll automatically put the second one up. Now, everything else we do is going to be between these 2 braces. Everything else we do, we're only going to do if this rater has any clips for us to use. Okay? So we're going to do clip number, because now we're going to get a random clip. So we know we have a variable called clip number, and we're going to assign one number in that list of clips. So we're going to find out of all the clips we have in that clip count, we're just going to pick a random number between 0 and clip count, and we're going to take that clip. So clip number equals cph.between. And the between function will pick a random number between 2 numbers that you give it. So 0 and clip.count, semicolon. So now we'll just get a random clip number. Now, the way this works, the function does what's called returning. Remember how I talked about this return? You don't really need to know what that is. Well, for this instance, I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay, this function returns an integer value. That means that after it does all its work, it spits back a value. It's got a little return line in its code, and it says, send back this number. So if I set an integer equal to that function call, it'll assign the value that this returns to clip number. Okay, so now we know what clip we're going to use, or at least the program knows what clip it's going to use. So now we want to know how long this clip is. Okay, because we got to know how long we're going to let this browser source show. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have this assign this URL to that browser source, and then we're going to have it show the browser source. But the browser source doesn't know when the clip's over, and Streamer.bot doesn't know when the clip's over. So we've got to tell it how long to wait before it hides it. So we're going to take that length variable, and we're going to set it equal to clip dot. And now when we put in brackets, if we put clip number in brackets, whatever number was returned to clip number is going to go in those brackets, and it's going to tell it, go to the clip data set number, whatever clip number is that's in this list of clips. So go to space number 52, say, in our list of clips. Okay? Then dot duration. Remember, that's one of the pieces that are in our clip data objects. And then we're going to multiply that by 1,000 because the clip duration is in seconds, but the function we need to use to tell it how long to wait before it shows the browser source takes milliseconds. So we need to convert that to the right length of time, or it's just going to blip on and off and we won't even notice anything happened. Okay, semicolon. Now, length is an integer because we need an integer for that function to make it pause. But duration is what's called a floating point value. A floating point value has decimal places and is twice as big as an integer. So we have to convert that to an integer so it'll fit into that variable. So we're going to do what's called casting. I'm going to put parentheses int in front of it, and that's going to tell the program to turn that floating point value into an integer. Now, a floating point value is bigger than an integer, which means if it's too big of a number, it's going to truncate it. But Twitch clips aren't going to be long enough that that's ever going to be an issue. So we'll be perfectly fine. Okay, now we want to send this clip to our browser source. So we're going to run a function called obs set browser source. cph obs set browser source. And this tells you all the variables you need. So we need the name of the scene that it's in. We need the name of the source that we're sending it to. Then we need the URL. Don't worry about in connection. It's really not that important. We're going to leave that blank. Okay? So we put it in the scene alerts. Let's see. What did we call it again? We called it RAID clip 2. Okay, remember that you have to spell it exactly the way it is in OBS or it's not going to work. RAID clip 2. Okay? And then our last string is stored in a string variable. So we're going to do clip bracket clip number, so we get the right one in the list, the one in the list that we randomly selected, dot URL, semicolon. That is going to send that browser source the URL of the clip we want to play. And now we want to show the browser source. We're going to use a function called cph.obs show source. And we know our scene, we're going to give it just like the last function, the scene alerts. And then the scene, the source, Raider clip 2. Semicolon. Sorry, RAID clip 2. My bad. RAID clip 2. Okay. And now, of course, we have to tell it how long to wait before we then tell it to hide the source. We use a function called cph.wait. And again, it takes an integer that's milliseconds. That's why we had to convert to an integer and why we had to multiply by 1,000 because duration is in seconds. So cph wait length. Now that's going to tell it, stop what you're doing for however many milliseconds I've told you. Don't proceed until this is done. Okay? And then when it's done, we want to hide the source. cph.obs hide source. And then everything else is exactly the same as show source. Alerts, RAID clip 2, semicolon. And that's pretty much it. That's everything you need to code. Now, if you want to do a duration, well, let's show you this working first, and then we'll do a couple of modifications to do a duration, to do like a time span. Okay, so we hit compile. Okay, found an error. What's our error? Oh, here's our problem. Put a dot there by mistake. There we go. Now we're all good to go. Okay, so let's test that out, shall we? So we hit compile. Now we're gonna hit save and compile. Now we want to test this. Now, of course, there could be a ton of raiders, people that could come to your stream. If I hit test trigger, it's gonna pick a random account, and if that account doesn't have any clips, it's not gonna make anything go off. So I'm gonna do a simulation. Okay, so it appears that because I'm running 2 versions of OBS at once, Streamer.bot's a little confused trying to send it to the instance of OBS that I was doing the demo in. So I'm going to have to show you the code I have working in the version of OBS that I'm recording in. It's the same code. It's doing the same thing. It just, I can make it work. So I have this code in my rate alert. So I have it right here. There's my code. It's after all the stuff from my alert. And I'm going to set it off. I'm going to test it. And I'm going to simulate it, because if I do test trigger, it's just going to cycle through a whole bunch of streamers until it, or not streamers, a bunch of Twitch users until it hits a streamer with clips. And then it shows something. That could take forever. So I'm going to go to, I'm going to use a streamer I watch called Robot Co-op. And I got permission from Robot Co-op to use one of their clips. Now it's going to play my rate alert. And it's going to take a few seconds. It's going to collect all the clip data information and then pick a random clip. That's not the long part. The long part is collecting all the data. And here comes a clip.
Yep. If you don't know what to do, push a block.
I'm very contrarian.
If a stranger's talking to you and making you uncomfortable, push a block.
God damn it.
Boy.
Don't like this room one bit.
What room is this?
hate
Number
choices.
6. Okay, so
Number
hold up.
6.
The teleporters in this room go to the teleporters in the room at point 7.
Oh, weird.
So, as you can see, it's waiting till the clip finishes.
So which one do I step on here?
Good question.
Go.
Trial and error, I think,
I don't
because it
care
doesn't
for
give
this
it.
dungeon.
Okay, and see, when the clip's over, it stops. And if we want to get another clip, let me do another simulation. I'll just run the simulation again.
Packet Runner Super Bowl!
And again, it's going to gather the clip data. Let's give it some time to get the clip data. It's going to take a while. The more clips there are, the longer it's going to take.
Is it actually him?
Yes. Yeah, it's Badger from Breaking Bad.
I think someone in chat said Matt Jones.
Matt Jones. Thank you, Eric. Eric.
Steve also gave us a Matt Jones. It's like I feel like they were next to each other. You got to do them as
sorry,
a
guys,
pack.
you're absolutely wrong. It's Matt L. Jones.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, and then if we want to run another simulation, we can run another, and it's going to get us yet another clip. Can you handle this?
Packet Runner Super Bowl!
And give it again. It's got to get the clip list every single time, because it's not
you
storing
see
it
under our
permanently.
name where it says games roasted
Because otherwise you
by
have a
robots.
pile of information
That's
piled
the
up.
whole thing.
It's the whole thing.
When the words come out of my mouth, they don't go back in.
That's true for.
Okay, so now that is, of course, doing all the clips. That could be grabbing a clip from 7-8 years ago when they started streaming. It could be grabbing a clip from last week. You never know. So let's say we want to do a duration. We just want to do a certain amount of them. Okay, and I'm going to go now to the version that connects to this OBS so that we can get this nice and quick. Okay, so now here it is. I've done what's called commenting out. When you do a double slash, that makes something a comment. I commented out the stuff for duration, so I don't have to retype it. So right now, this is how I gave it to you, just getting every single clip. But let's say I just want within a certain period. Let's say I want it within the past year. So I can create what's called a datetime object or datetime variable. I'll do one for start, datetime start, and one for the end of the period, end. Then I have to give those values dates. Now, rather than having to physically assign, like go in and type out a date, we're just going to use some functionality built into C#. You do end equals datetime.now, and that's going to get whenever you happen to be running the code. Like, so it's going to go to your system clock and it's going to say, oh, it's January 5th, 2026. That's going to assign that to that date time. And then we're going to do an end date. We're going to do, okay, so that's our end date. It's going to stop now. So now we want to set a start date. How far back do we want to go? So a nice easy way to do that is just to subtract a number of days. So if we say start equals n.add days, that's a function that will add a number of days to whatever value is in end. We're going to say add negative 365. We're going to go back a year. So we'll just get the clips from the past 365 days and set that to start. Okay? Now, instead of using the get clips for user by ID that we were using that just gets everything, we're going to comment that out. I've already written the code. We're going to use the one that takes a range of dates. So we're going to give it the user ID just like we did before. And the first one's going to be our start date. The second one's going to be our end date. So those are our two variables we made there. Okay? And now that's the only thing we had to change. Now we hit compile. No error messages. That's good. Save and compile. Now, if I simulate a raid for Robot Co-op.
True courage.
You'll learn how to
with my wand. Not
So
these
this is
wimpy
within the past
WWF
year
beef
of their
sticks
streams.
everyone keeps talking about.
The one thing about Discord is it puts like you two guys in two different joke dimensions, but it kind of works.
Now, of course,
Dude,
to
Top
you,
Scene
you don't
are
know how
like
far
we-
away this is,
Oh.
but I know this is a fairly
we
recent
secretly
clip
know
of
it's
theirs.
look it's some sort of like
When they're playing, I think they're
it's a
playing Chrono Trigger.
subconscious, masterful, genius, mastermind plan. You go back and watch it later, and you'll be thankful. I don't know, dude. Sometimes the plugs and the wires get mixed up, and like he says things that are, and then I don't hear him, and then I say, and then like we cry, and eventually we both land in a weird spot.
So
You
see,
know
that's
what
just a
I
random
do
clip
when
from the
I'm
past
trying to laugh for a
365
long
days.
time at a Cylon joke.
So between, well, I'm recording on January 5th, 2026. So between January
Stare
5th,
at the wall and try
2026 and
not to throw
January
up.
5th, 2025, or January 6th, I don't know. In the past 365 days, okay? And that's pretty much all there is to it. And again, you just got to adjust that for your stream. And again, I'm sorry that first code that I wrote in front of you wouldn't work. Again, it's not because the code was bad. The code was fine. The problem is Streamer.bot was a little confused by the two instances of OBS. Either way, that's pretty much how you do it. It's not that hard. Again, no, once you know how to do it, it's not too bad. So you can do, again, a range of dates, or you can do, just all their clips. And that pretty much wraps it up. And I hope that was helpful to you. If that's something you've been wanting to do, then now you know how to do it. So let me know if this is something that was useful to you in the comments. If you've already done this before, maybe you've actually done this in the past with Streamer.bot and you already knew how to do this. Or maybe you've been wanting to do it with Streamer.bot, but you weren't sure how. Or maybe you've never used Streamer.bot and you're like, oh, that looks really great. I want to get Streamer.bot and do that. Well, now you know how to do it. And again, Streamer.bot is good for so many things. It's just a great chat bot. You can pretty much eliminate a bunch of those third-party services because Streamer.bot can do so much stuff. Big thank you to Robot Co-op for letting me use their clips as an example. I really appreciate that, Rick. And check out Robot Co-op. Great stream. Funny guys. And check out my streams. I am on pretty much every Saturday. I go on between 4:30, 5 o'clock Eastern time on every Saturday. Again, pretty much every Saturday. And I stream on YouTube and Twitch, but I am trying to get affiliate on Twitch. So if you could do me a favor and watch on Twitch, that would be awesome. I really want to get to that affiliate status. But so I hope that was helpful. If it was, give me a like, give me a comment, help push this through the algorithm so that other people who might want to use this can find this more easily. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.